Today, we're jumping into a story about a place that really helped define the American West. But it's also a story about how all places change. We're going to explore Montana's Bitterroot Valley, this so-called stockman's paradise, and we'll do it through the eyes of someone whose family has been there for 6 whole generations. Let's see what its legacy can tell us about our own changing world. Wow, the ghosts of 6 generations. That just gives you chills, doesn't it? It's such a powerful reminder that this isn't just about a piece of land. It's about a living, breathing inheritance. It's that weight, but also that comfort of knowing the stories of your family are literally written into the soil under your feet. So, when most of us think about the Wild West and cattle ranching, what comes to mind? Probably those huge Texas cattle drives from the 1880s, right? Well, the story of the Bitterroot is different. Its role as a cornerstone of the American livestock industry actually started way, way earlier than that. Just look at this timeline for a second. Major John Owen sets up his trading post in 1850. That is a full 30 years before those famous Texas Longhorn drives even get going. So the Bitterroot wasn't just part of the story of the West. You could argue it wrote the first chapter on how to build a livestock empire. So what was its secret? What made this place so special? Well, the first piece of the puzzle is geography. The valley is what's known as a banana belt. And no, they're not growing bananas in Montana. It's this incredible little pocket of warmer weather that's shielded by the mountains, making it way more hospitable for raising livestock year-round compared to the harsh country all around it. But that was only half the magic formula. The second secret ingredient was this stuff, native bunchgrass. I mean, just imagine a plant that stays packed with protein even after it's been baked by the sun and buried under the snow of a brutal Montana winter. It was like the perfect, all-natural superfood for cattle, just sitting there. These two things, the climate and the grass, made the valley a potential gold mine. And this is where Major Owen's genius comes in. He wasn't just raising his own cattle. He was running what he called a rehabilitation business. Think about it. He'd trade for the exhausted, nearly dead animals from pioneers on the Oregon Trail, turn them loose on this incredible landscape, and basically let nature do all the hard work. It was an amazing business model that proved the valley wasn't just a place you could survive, it was a place you could get seriously wealthy. But the valley's legacy isn't just about the grass and the cattle. A whole culture grew out of the work itself. And this culture wasn't really built on fences or laws, but on a kind of shared social contract, one that was forged in dust and sweat and cooperation. This really gets to the heart of it. Your reputation was everything. It was your currency. In a huge, wide-open place with very few laws, your word and the brand you burned into your cattle's hide, that was it. That was your bond. It was a simple, powerful code that held the whole community together. And branding season was the ultimate expression of this code. It was called the heartbeat of the year. So you didn't just brand your own calves, you showed up for your neighbors, and you knew they'd show up for you. For a young kid, it was a total rite of passage. Getting a nod of approval from a seasoned cowboy, that was better than any diploma. You weren't just marking an animal, you were being marked yourself, becoming a real part of that culture. But, as the source material makes so clear, that valley is changing. Over the last few decades, a new kind of settler has arrived, and with them, a quiet but really profound shift is happening. The old ways are, well, they're slowly, almost silently, evaporating. You can literally see this change written on the land itself. Those huge open spaces that defined the valley are being subdivided. Big working ranches are giving way to these smaller ranchettes, where maybe the most important crop is the view. And as the physical landscape gets reshaped, of course, the social landscape does too. Now, the author is really careful not to just condemn this change, and this quote shows a lot of historical awareness. I mean, let's be honest, the ranchers themselves were newcomers on land that belonged to the Bitterroot Salish people for centuries. Change is always happening, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't take a hard look at what's being lost in the process. And that brings us right to the heart of the matter. What we're seeing is a fundamental clash of values. It's the culture that grew from working the land versus the culture that has come to admire it, maybe from a distance. So first, let's talk about the social fabric. The old Bitterroot was built on interdependence. Helping your neighbor wasn't just being nice, it was a survival strategy. You literally couldn't make it through a winter alone. The new way of thinking is often about independence. People move out to the country to get away, to have their own private slice of Eden, not necessarily to rely on a community. And this changes the whole relationship people have with the land itself. For generations, the valley was a workplace. It was something you partnered with. Now, for a lot of folks, it's an aesthetic. It's a beautiful backdrop to be enjoyed, a view to be consumed, rather than a resource you have to tend to. And all of that transforms the very idea of what a community is. It shifts from what the author calls this gritty, bone-deep reliability to just the politeness of strangers. You might wave to your neighbor, but can you really count on them when a blizzard hits and you're snowed in? That connective tissue of shared struggle, it's getting thinner. So what does this all mean for the future of places like the Bitterroot? As one culture starts to fade and another one takes its place, we kind of have to ask ourselves, what do we truly value, and what might we be losing for good? What's disappearing is a kind of practical, hands-on wisdom, the kind of knowledge you just can't learn from a book, how to fix a collapsing barn, the real-world value of a water right, or just having the patience to wait out a long winter. This knowledge is tied to the land, and as our connection to working that land frays, so does the wisdom. And in the end, this is the author's hope. But the new folks see beyond the property lines and the scenic vistas, that they understand they aren't just buying a piece of property. They're stepping into a long, complicated, and frankly beautiful story of people working together to make a home in a wild place. And this is the question we're left with, right? And it's a question that goes far beyond the Bitterroot Valley. As our relationship with the natural world changes, are we becoming passive spectators in a landscape that we no longer know how to take care of? Are we trading the grit and the knowledge of being a participant for the comfort of just being a consumer? It's a powerful thought to consider what we gain and what we might just be giving up forever.